Hello everyone, welcome to the FPL Grades Part 2 video from Fantasy Football Scout. I'm joined again by Mr. Gianni. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm very well, thank you. All good. I
Good.
enjoyed our chat yesterday,
It was
doing
good,
part
wasn't
one.
it? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. This will be coming out, I think, a few days later. Obviously, we've got the big double game week news and the FPL grades kind of have been pushed back in the priority list a bit. So we are recording this on Thursday. I believe this will be out Saturday morning. Hopefully not anything that will massively affect this video. But if there is, then I'll drop some notes in the comments. If you haven't seen the first part, we went through 10 teams and we're going to go through the other teams today. We're looking at the teams from an FPL point of view, who's been good options for us, who have not been so good. We're going to be giving grades based on that, and we'll just be genuinely reflecting on each team and giving our opinions on, well, how they've been performing this season. Yeah, it was a good video last time, I thought. Interesting stuff.
It's good, isn't it? Like, obviously, we are touching on like how well they've played this season and our hopes for the second half of the season with these teams and what's been. But mainly, we're focusing on the FPL assets. Of course, we are. So, yeah, I like it. We kind of look at it from two ways.
Yeah, it's been interesting to like talk about teams that we kind of maybe had sort of predictions for or thought would go a certain way and have gone the other way.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us really nicely into the first team that we're talking about, which is Leicester, because I think a lot of us had high hopes for Leicester assets this season.
Yeah.
You know, defensively they've been very solid under Brendan Rodgers. There's loads of attacking options. You know, Daka had come in. You saw, Maddison being back in the team. Harvey Barnes coming back from injury. I had him right at the start of the season. Thought he was going to be a really good option. And instead, it's been a bit of a weird season for Leicester. Defensively, really, really poor. One of the worst, as we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
Rodgers doesn't seem to know what system he wants to play, what players he wants to fit into it. It's been a bit of a mess, hasn't it?
End of last season, we all finished with at least one Leicester attacking asset, usually Iheanacho, right? He was so good and we were seeing a two-man attack, Vardy, Iheanacho. It worked so well. And this all came about because Barnes was injured. He went to a front two. We just assumed it was going to be a front two this season, not only because Iheanacho played well, but because the signing of Daka, we thought it'd be one or the other with Vardy. But then he went, no, I want my wide forwards and Barnes playing. And then Perez was getting game time. It was okay. The signing of Lookman eventually has changed things a little bit. And I get that. And I get Rodgers is a sort of manager that will play different systems depending on opponent and perhaps the flavour of the month at the time. That's fine. What isn't fine is the conceding goals. But then you look at it and go, Soyuncu, Fofana and Evans, three of the first choice two centre-backs when they play a back four, or if they play a back three, all first choice centre-backs out. They've been relying on Amartey and Vestergaard at times at centre-back. Of course, Justin, we know about his injury. Pereira's always injured. The defensive injuries that club has been it's been more than unfortunate. I can't remember anything like it. So I can see why they're conceding chances and goals for fun. But yeah, it hasn't been good enough. But when you look at the personnel, it really isn't surprising. I mean, Amartey and Vestergaard, fourth and fifth choice centre-backs.
Yeah. No, I know. I think it's, again, we talked about Leeds, talked about Everton having these kind of injury problems, and obviously you have to kind of take that into account. I mean, Leicester are 10th in the table. It's probably not where they want to be, but it's not a complete disaster. They're not in a relegation battle, for example. But let me just show you this. I mean, this is their defensive numbers. I know you talk about kind of fourth and fifth choice centre-backs, but in terms of shots conceded in the box, they have conceded the most in the league. Okay. So shots conceded in the box is normally where you don't want your shots to be conceded from, right? Because it's the most likely to lead to a goal. They've had, more than Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle. West Ham are right up there as well. Maybe a bit surprising. Leeds, Watford. These are all the teams that we associate with like quite bad, defensive performances. Leicester are right at the top of this. And, the win against, the clean sheet against Liverpool just took everyone by surprise recently. And you hope that's a bit of a platform for them to kick on and start looking a bit more solid. But I still think they're a team we can target.
Yeah, I mean, they've kept two clean sheets now in their last three against Newcastle and Liverpool. Obviously conceded 6 to City in between that. But that's 2 in 3, and they've only kept 3 all season. So you're like, okay, they just have been leaking goals for fun. And there was a time last season, in fact, when we all had Leicester defenders at one point. Like James Justin was in everyone's team, wasn't he? And they were usually quite a good bet. And you look at the fullbacks and think, yeah, there's always attacking returns in Castagna, Pereira when fit. Even Luke Thomas last season when he played got some. And you're like, okay, I can spend 5 million and get a good Leicester defender that's pretty good chances of a clean sheet every week and there's some attacking returns there. This season, not at all.
No.
So it's been very slim pickings. Schmeichel's not been an option either. He started the year, I think, at 5 million and has dropped in value. So it's really been the midfielders only, and only really of late. So yeah, it's been a surprising one, because every season for the last few, we've always had Leicester cover. Even when we go back to Ranieri's Leicester, Mahrez, Vardy, this is the first time I can ever remember when Leicester players have never been part or even close to the template. And I include Vardy in that.
Yeah, I think we're seeing some signs from Maddison now, which is interesting, because he was kind of in and out of the team. I'll talk about the different systems that Rodgers had, but he's now looking like he's kind of the main part of that attack. 3 double digits in 4 games he's had quite recently.
Yep.
Daka's injured now. We've got Vardy injured. We've got Iheanacho, who I thought would be starting the season for Leicester, like you mentioned before. But now he's gone off to AFCON, so it's who's going to start up front for Leicester. Is this a chance for Barnes, Perez, Lookman, all these guys? And
Barnes has been out as well, so we don't even know his fitness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's very hard to predict. I mean, I think Maddison and Tielemans are they're ones that I've definitely got my eye on for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can kind of kick on and spend it. I mean, Tielemans will be on penalties without Vardy there.
Yeah.
I think Maddison's the kind of gem, which is great because you know me, my love for Maddison. But yeah, grading then. I mean, I guess if you got on Maddison early, or if you got on Maddison before his run of great fixtures, you'll be happy. But other than that, there hasn't really been a huge amount from Leicester. Even Vardy, for example, hasn't really delivered to the extent that we've seen him do in previous seasons.
But Tielemans got a couple of back-to-back 10-pointers. So if you were there on Tielemans, but at the time, I'm sure his ownership would have been so low. Because the defence hasn't been an option, it's been slim pickings up top. I'm going to go D+. It's been really quite poor. It is, as I say, the first time I can remember when Leicester hasn't been even close to having a player in that template.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a C-, just because I think Maddison and Tielemans have at least been options for us at certain points. Yeah. And I think Vardy is one of those players who, he has delivered at certain points. If you've had him, then you've done okay. And I think the fact that there are some options there, and the fact that there might be some that emerge in the second half, just takes them above the fail category. But defensively, I am really surprised that that we can't really be considering Leicester defenders. If you told me that at the start of the season, I'd have been shocked. Yeah. Okay, big one next. Current winners. First in the league, Man City. A nice picture of Bernardo Silva and Sterling. There, 53 points. They've got 10 more points than your Chelsea. 11 more points than Liverpool, but they've got a game in hand. I can't see any stopping them. I mean, it's been like that for a while, hasn't it?
It has. And the first thing we always talk about with Man City and FPL is Pep Roulette. And I'd like to say that I think that's, of course there's still rotation, but City aren't rotating more than everyone else, which is new, right? Pep Roulette he's built a reputation for roulette because he tended to rotate more than any other manager. This season, we've been able to second guess the lineup and most weeks get 8 or 9 out of the 11, which is pretty normal for a top team with a big squad that plays Champions League football and obviously has midweek fixtures. So for once, we've actually been able to look at the likes of, say, Cancelo. Last season or the year before, even if you ever go Cancelo, it was, he's a rotation risk, when really he was still playing 8 in 10 or whatever. Now he's playing 9 in 10 or 10 in 10, so he's safe. So there's players now which just feel a little bit safer. Bernardo Silva, for those that went on him, you knew when you were buying Bernardo that there wouldn't be rotation there. Same if you want to invest in the KDB. Of course, some of those wide forwards we always know will have it. If you go Mahrez or Jesus, there will always be that rotation because of the side of the squad, maybe even Grealish. But I'd like to say the likes of Bilva, Foden, Cancelo, Diaz, even Laporte this season, the popular FPL assets have been starting games we expect them to start. Of course, there's been a couple with Foden with the naughty step. Other than that, if he's fit, he plays.
Yeah. Do you think we might see that changing a little bit? With the Champions League come in, with De Bruyne back now. I mean, for quite a lot of the first at least the first quarter of the season, Sterling wasn't an option and Grealish was preferred. Yeah. Now Grealish has been playing a bit less. Gundogan's been kind of in and out of the team. Do you think we're going to start seeing a bit more of this kind of roulette in the second half, which is going to make these assets a bit harder to pick? Or do you think De Bruyne back's a good thing and he might actually be someone who we have to consider?
Yeah, I think De Bruyne back just means we're going to see more rotation in perhaps Gundogan. Like, we know Gundogan and Bilva have been playing in the absence of De Bruyne in those sort of 2 number 8 spots, if you like. it just might mean we see less of Gundogan. But again, we knew he was one of those that you put on the sort of risky category when everyone is fit. So yeah, will De Bruyne be an option though? I'd love him to be. I can't see why not. If he's fit and firing, we know he's up there with the league's best players and he can start producing FPL points. We also know this season when he's played, we've seen him very attacking. We've seen him drifting into false nine as well, which we like. It just means Bernardo Silva is deeper. So many are on Bilva and have had to think about selling him because of KDB coming back into the team. The biggest shift there has been Bernardo has to drop deeper when he's playing alongside KDB.
Yep. And leads us quite nicely into, I've got a table on the Man City midfielders, and there's a lot of them. You've got Mahrez, Sterling, Gundogan, Torres, Foden, Grealish, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, and then Fernandinho and Rodri. Best way to sort these is obviously by minutes per XGI, considering they've all played different amounts of minutes. Right at the top is Mahrez. He always is. He's just always the one. When he plays, he delivers such good XGI. It's so frustrating that he's not an option for us, really, because if he could cement a role in the team, which he's never seemed to have done for City, he could be someone who had a massive impact for us. Next is Sterling, 119.5. So many touches in the penalty area he gets, 117. There, we're starting to see him play more minutes now and looking sharp again. So he's expensive, 10.7, but I do wonder if he's someone who could potentially be a factor. It's just difficult, I guess, when you've got Salah taking up so much money and, you've got Ronaldo, Son, these guys. He still feels like a bit of a punt, I think. Down from him, you've got Gundogan, 7.3. So when he plays, he is, getting involved, creating chances, near the goal mouth, still making great runs like we saw from him last season. Then it's Foden, interestingly. So below the others. Then it's Grealish. So Grealish's numbers aren't too bad. And then it's De Bruyne, some way off. De Bruyne is falling. But right down the bottom of this list is Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, Mr. Overachiever.
Mr. Overachiever himself. So he did so well for people who got in on him. But he was over-delivering massively on what he was expected to be doing. And I think now we've seen quite a big regression from him, which a lot of people predicted. It's still Foden for me. Me and you are completely aligned on this. I still think he's the one to own.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I just look at it and go, we're getting the City number 9. We're getting the City number 9. He's a mid-price midfielder. Those numbers with Mahrez are disappointing because he's never an FPL option, but that's so good, the numbers, right? And just looking at his last last 5 games before he went off to AFCON, he actually started 4 of them. And in those 4 starts, he went 13, 12, 10 and 9. Like unbelievable consistency in points. And City are scoring bags of goals. And I just wonder when he comes back from the AFCON, in the games if he's not getting picked in the Champions League teams, then in the Premier League, is it worth looking at that double up? It's just, at the moment, it's just not something we can consider because of the rotation. But with the heavy fixture schedule and the Champions League, he doesn't tend to play. I don't think off the top of my head he's in that first 11 Champions League knockout first 11. And if he's not, then maybe in the Premier League he plays more minutes. It's one of those when if you're playing like a game like the fan team second chance game, you go, I can have him because if he doesn't start, I get the next price player, which is Foden or whoever. But for FPL, the game we all know and love, it's so much more difficult to get him in.
It is, yeah, and that's why I think Foden is the one. But I mean, Gundogan is someone who Mark got, for example, and he's a good option. All the stats indicate he's a good option, but he just isn't returning the points, and you're always worried he's going to miss out. So I think that's probably a bit too far for him. Bernardo Silva, I think no one's going to be buying him at the moment. I think you've got him. You've got a difficult decision to make whether you keep him or whether you sell him. And then it's De Bruyne, I think, who is really interesting. 12 million, he's a lot of money, but I just wasn't expecting him to start so much over Christmas.
Yeah.
Playing 90 minutes almost every match. So clearly back to fitness and looking good again.
Yeah. Gundo is one of those or any of these players are, if there's injuries in that squad, and then you go, because player X is injured, I can now jump on player Y to exploit the fact I know he's going to be starting every week. So, for example, Gundogan is someone last season we all jumped on because of KDB's injury. This season it was, Bernardo, but to an extent, even Gundogan. If KDB is injured, you jump on Gundo and it works. And we've seen that. Same with Bernardo a few months back. But there might be others, for example, if we know, Gabriel Jesus is injured and Mahrez is playing 80% of games, so he maybe becomes an option. But of course, now Sterling is playing more minutes on the right, which doesn't help. In years
Yeah.
gone by, Sterling has only been on the left. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
It's always tricky. That's what I mean. I think we might see more. It might be harder to predict the lineups in the second half than in the first half.
Yeah. The consistency from Pep to start the season was unbelievable. We couldn't believe it. We were like, what's going on? Like Grealish started like 8 on the bounce or something on the left. And it was like, okay.
I got no returns because I owned him.
I got no returns. Yeah. You did the first part right. You picked the player that was starting. So yeah, I've no doubt Pep will resort to type and we'll see loads of spinning of that wheel.
Yeah. Okay, your favourite team next, Manchester United.
Yes.
Under Rangnick. Just before you get into it, I've got some stats on them under Rangnick versus them under Solskjaer. So I thought I'd look at kind of offensively how they've been under Rangnick, and it's okay, 6.9 minutes per kind of expected goal. They're 7th, so it puts them below Brighton, but in fairly decent company. Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, Brighton, Man United. So that's not too bad. It looks like they've done well, right, under Rangnick. Had a look at them under Solskjaer. They are 7th. No change whatsoever. Minute per chance every 7 minutes. And Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Leeds, West Ham, Arsenal, United. So slightly different list. But basically, they're not creating a chance any quicker under Rangnick than they were under Solskjaer. Defensively, they haven't looked any better. I think they're still making sloppy mistakes at the back. I haven't seen any evidence of this high pressing style.
Yeah, where's this style that we heard so much about?
Which is supposed to be, like the blueprint of everything he does. And to be honest, I don't think they've improved at all. And I think these 2 charts, I mean, I know it's only, minutes per chance and you can't go everything on that, but that kind of tells everything to me. Like, there's no change in that. There's no change in anything else. The players still look like they've got, egos and problems, and they get too frustrated and reliant too much on Ronaldo. Fernandes is out of the team now for some reason. Not impressed.
Yeah, me neither. Just to quickly go back before I get into United, I don't think we rated City, but I'm guessing we're both an A grade.
Oh, we didn't. Yeah, A grade.
Yeah.
Easy one.
But United, I mean, it's rotten eggs. There must be so many of them in that dressing room because you change management. I think the players got very lazy under Ollie, and I think that's been very hard to shape out. I think they became complacent and lazy. And I think that's probably because they didn't have a coach that was really pushing them. I think it was an easy ride for many. I turn up to training, put 50% effort in, know I'm going to get picked. That's what Ollie never dropped players that were out of form. That back four just kept playing week and again. And he had his favourites in attack. Rashford played every game. Some players in that squad, it's the key years for progression. Rashford under Ollie in 3 years hasn't improved. Key ages in his development, sort of early 20s, you expect him to go from there to there. Like such a promising young player. And you could say the same about so many players. And at the moment we're seeing it under Rangnick, it's going to take time. And we know he has this style, but to have seen no uptake on the field is really disappointing. And I thought Dalot and Tellez came in and added a little something in the first couple of games at fullback. But, what we really want to see a change in is the attacking positions. And we want to see the wide forwards actually getting some goals. And it just looks like, again, the reliance on Ronaldo is still there. He's playing okay. Ronaldo, fine. Like against Burnley, I think he probably was a little bit lucky to get his double digits, but it was Burnley. And I'm just so underwhelmed, mate. Like, we don't know who are the best players. We don't know if Greenwood is an option. He should be, I think. But again, he got subbed at half-time after being the best-looking player at last time out. Bruno is in and out the team. Sancho, I think, is going to become a favourite. But he still looks off the boil. Rashford doesn't know if he's playing up front with Ronaldo or in midfield because this 4-2-2-2 is obviously very strange for them. So, all over the place. I do think Cavani and Ronaldo as a front two is the best dynamic. But again, should you not be building for the future by playing those two? Just isn't going to work. Surely not long term.
It's hard not to make comparisons of Arsenal, isn't it? I mean, Arsenal, getting rid of Aubameyang and bringing in this like young, vibrant attacking three, and Lacazette dropping and helping out is very different to what United are doing, which seems to be bringing in aging players and hoping that they can sort of sort everything out. I mean, if you look man for man, United have got a much better squad and team than Arsenal have.
Yeah.
But it's not translating to that on the pitch, and the performances are just so abject from them. And what do you think about Ronaldo, because it's very interesting. It's very easy just to say he's the problem, right? He's the one. He slows down the team. His ego's too big. Players are getting frustrated and all of that. But do you think without him they would be even worse?
Yeah.
Like he's bailed them out of so many situations, particularly the Champions League.
Without him, they'd have finished bottom of their Champions League group. He scored 2 last-minute goals that took them from draws to wins. So he got them 4 points in those 2 late goals. I think both against Atalanta, if not maybe 3. Maybe there's a third because he definitely did it against, I think, Villarreal as well. So he saved them, mate. He saved them, and he's actually been a bright spark. But when you watch Ronaldo, you don't think, oh, okay, he's not putting the shift in. He is. He is doing as much running as the others. And of course, at his age, he has to conserve some energy. But it's not just about running off the ball. Like Ronaldo's one of the world's most intelligent footballers. He's not going to go chase shadows for the sake of it to try and get a round of applause from fans. He has to conserve his energy and use it well at the right times. And he does that. And he's still been good in front of goal. He's not the Ronaldo we remember from the Premier League. Of course he's not, but I don't think I ever expected him to be. And fans that did, that's unfair. Like, you shouldn't have. You only need to look at how he's played both for international football and for Juve in the last few years to know that you were never going to get the same player. But I do think it might have a knock-on effect on some of the players. Playing alongside such a superstar, you can see the confidence in the likes of Greenwood and Rashford. I don't think they particularly like playing with him. I think it's probably quite difficult to play alongside. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the dressing room when he has those hissy fits, because Ronaldo no doubt has them. And if you're Greenwood and Rashford, your confidence is already shot. Then to have him complaining because he's not getting the service he wants is probably quite tricky for him. I get that. But he has to play because he's been scoring goals.
Yeah. I mean, eight goals, 3 assists so far. Obviously missed the first couple of games. 8 goals, 3 assists in the season that United are having. Turbulent, I think, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's a pretty decent return. I think he's still on track to get 20 goals, I think. I think if United's fortunes change and Ranić can sort them out and get them, pressing more, I think he could still get 20 goals, which would be a good return for him in that side. It is a very funny one to judge. It's almost like you want a kind of a what if machine to know what United would be, if they'd carried on with the project that they'd had. Got rid of Martial. I don't think he was good enough to lead the line. Brought in a young, hungry striker maybe, and kept that youth, and gone more of the way that Arsenal have to kind of see how that went. But we'll never know. And it is what it is. Okay, grading for them. I mean, there have been assets from them. I mean, obviously Fernandes got the hat-trick first day of the season.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's got points for me when I've had him in my side. Newcastle captain, things like that. Shaw, though, huge disappointment for Shaw, beginning of the season.
Oh my
Everyone's
God.
team.
Wow. I think that's the biggest decline we've seen.
Well, is it as big as Fernandes' decline since the hat-trick?
True, yeah, both of them. All the big declines do come at Old Trafford. You could say the same on the pitch, not FPL, but Maguire, you could say the same. We
haven't even mentioned Sancho. I mean, what a disappointment he's been.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Greenwood started the season 8-10, 8-5. First 4 weeks, I had him in my team. And I remember a lot of people saying big rotation risk. And he was starting all these games. I think he started all the way up to game week 9, every game. And he was getting some good points early on. He's dropped off a cliff as well. But again, he hasn't got a position. So there's been options. So I'd have to say they're in the C category. I'd probably say C- because there's been no consistency. But there has been options.
I think I'll give him a C+. I'll be a little bit more generous. I think De Gea has been all right in people that got on him. He's been their best player of the season as well. I think I've captained Ronaldo a few times and had hauls from him. Obviously, the captaincy of Fernandes at the start of the season was a good start for a lot of people. And then, like you mentioned, Greenwood. It's just a shame that like Pogba first game got like 4 assists, didn't he? And hasn't kicked on from that. Like Varane's coming, we thought that would mean more points for like Wan-Bissaka and Maguire, and that hasn't transpired. So yeah, it's been a bit of a disappointment, but I'll give him the C+ just because I've had a few good returns.
As 50 of Ronaldo's 82 points, so like 2/3, 50 of 82 have come in 4 game weeks.
Yeah.
So when he does produce, he produces well because he gets the bonus and he gets a goal and an assist or 2 goals. So to have 50 of your 82, knowing there's been 21 game weeks. That's impressive to do it in 4 weeks. So at least when we do go to him, like if he's a captaincy option on that week, he's going to produce well. But yeah, it's been isolated.
Yeah, I mean, those games have been Newcastle, and Burnley that you'd expect, and then Arsenal and Tottenham. So two very easy games, and then two games that you might think would be a bit tougher. So
and the Newcastle one we all captained him for, didn't we? That was the one that it was his debut, and
I sold him ahead of that Arsenal game. That went well. Okay, Newcastle. Oh dear. Let's not talk too much about the past, because the past is the past.
Yeah.
With Newcastle, let's talk more about the future. And I've put a picture of the fans up on the screen because the fans finally got what they wanted.
Yep.
Ashley has gone, and the new owners have come in, promised investment. Trippier looks like he might even have signed by the time this video goes out. Yep. And they're looking at sort of making other moves as well. Let me just talk about the stats that I've got. I mean, I just thought it's easy just to put a very damning stat about Newcastle defensively. 56 big chances conceded is the league high, and it's the league high by a lot. The next is Watford with 46, I think that is. Can't even read my own thing. And then it's Everton, Leeds, Leicester. But Newcastle defensively are just all over the place. They concede so many big chances every match, and teams know that they can kind of get at them. And Howe was brought in not really to address that because he's not a defensive manager.
Strange.
They want to attack.
He's probably one of the, I don't want to say worst defensive managers because that's not his game plan, but if you want clean sheets, he's literally, if you put the 20 Premier League managers on a piece of paper and ranked them, Howe for defensive ability as a coach would be right at the bottom. He'd be in the relegation zone. For attacking intent, it'd probably be top half. His teams do attack well. So it was a strange appointment, but there we go. What we know moving forward is if they're going to win games, they're going to win them and still probably concede. They're going to win them 3-2. So I expect them to be a team that can score goals, but we just definitely want to swerve all their defensive assets for sure. They're never going to get clean O's. Unless they buy centre-backs, very good centre-backs, they're not going to get clean sheets.
Yeah, I mean, Trippier's an exciting signing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
free kicks, corners for FPL. We'll get some attacking returns.
I mean, he's probably not someone that I would invest in, just given the numbers.
Yeah.
But I think he makes the attackers better. And if they can get some Maximan and Wilson back, and we don't know the extent of their injury, particularly Wilson, I think could have a really strong second half of the season if he's getting fed balls from Trippier. And, if the delivery to Wilson increases, you'd expect him to get more goals and hoover it up.
It's annoying. He's going to be. It'll be 5.0 though. If he was 4.5, knowing that Matt Ritchie starts the season at 5.0 as a defender, they can't put Trips in any lower.
Trippier will be 5. Absolutely, no doubt about that. I don't think he's an option, really. But it's what he can do to the players around him. I mean, the trouble is if Wilson is out for a prolonged period of time again, and that's always a risk with him. I mean, that last match was brutal for them, losing Wilson and St. Maximan. For potentially a significant period could be.
No wonder they requested all those postponements.
I know. Can't blame him, can you?
Joel Linton playing in the midfield. He's looked good. He's not an FPL asset because he's obviously listed as a forward, but he's been their best player of late. The game against United and City, I think he was man of the match. But signings are needed. And the attacking midfield spots, we don't quite know who's going to play. Like, they've been heavily linked with Aaron Ramsey. He could be an option. We know he scores goals. But what do Newcastle need? Another sick note player? Not really. I mean, if they can keep him fit and he can play, but you look at the attacking slots, Joe Willock was only signed at the end of last season after an unbelievable run on loan where he scored loads of goals. He can't get a game.
No, well, I was going to mention Joe Willock because I think in terms of disappointment, I was really disappointed with Willock this season. The end of last season, he was so good. Literally, as you said, scoring every week. For the last 4 or 5 weeks, if you got him in, you were getting 3 bonus on a goal every week.
Yeah.
And missed the first game, then Newcastle sign him. Do you know how many goals he's got this season?
0.
You know how many assists he's got this season?
Probably 0.
0. No goals and no assists for Willock is really, really poor returns. And, they need these players to step up. He's a big money signing for them. Lots of potential, good player, hasn't delivered anything.
Steve Bruce signing, though, wasn't it? That was the problem. They gave Bruce money to spend on a player, knowing they were probably going to sack Bruce.
But then he was a player that you would think had limited risk because he'd come in and knew the players and done well and had something to prove. Looks like the loan move was, enough, and now maybe he's down tools, which is a shame. Okay, FPL wise, I haven't owned any Newcastle players this season. The only one I think I'd consider would be Wilson if he was fit. I mean, St. Maximan's done all right.
Shame he's listed as a forward, isn't it? If St. Max was a midfielder, it'd be an option. The only one I can see myself going to, and that's if Newcastle start scoring some goals, Ryan Fraser at 5.3, if he's starting games, and he has been of late when fit.
Started the last three, yeah.
Started the last three, is it? So, I mean, he's 5.3, so he could become a nice fifth midfielder option if they start scoring goals. I don't think I'm ready to spend the sort of money I need to on a Wilson at 7.3 because of the fear of injuries, and it's still a lot for a Newcastle player. I'm more comfortable spending my 5 million and having bench fodder there. I don't know. If Wilson is fit, though, and that's a big if, then maybe he's an option. He's always an option when he's fit. We know he is, but he just never stays fit for more than a couple of games. And knowing there's been so many cancellations, postponements Newcastle will have, he'll be expected, or they will have a lot of times later this season where they're playing midweek fixtures as well. And what Wilson really needs is just one game a week to keep him fit. And he's probably not going to get that.
Agreed. I'm going to give him a D.
Yeah, same.
I think it's, the only saving point I think really has been Maximan, and that's only because we've had such a lack of forward options for our sides. So
yeah,
double Ds.
Same with you. Let's double D it up.
Okay, we'll be quick on this one. Norwich next, bottom of the league, no hope. I'm afraid from my perspective anyway. Dean Smith's come in, good manager, but they're not completely out of it. I mean, they've got 10 points. Watford have got 13, but they played a game more. Burnley got a couple of games in hand on them. I just can't see any way in which they survive. Looking at the stats I've got on the screen, minutes per chance conceded, they are... also, the minutes per chance is... what am I talking about? Yeah, I'll edit this. In terms of goal scoring form, minutes per chance, 9.3 is worst in the league. Liverpool obviously the top with chance every 5 minutes. Norwich with double that, 9.3. Second worst is Wolves.
Interesting, that is.
So the likes of Burnley and Watford and Leeds and these other kind of relegation threatened teams are much down. But that's the problem with Norwich is they can't keep clean sheets and they can't score. And if you can't do either of those things, then you're going to get relegated.
Yeah. I think we had high hopes for... I say high hopes. We had some hopes at some points for Pukki. I didn't own him, but I know he's had spells where managers have just gone short-term punts, and I can see why around good fixtures. But even Pukki hasn't been able to produce it. He has got 5 goals this season, no assists. But yeah, you just don't ever want to back Norwich to score a goal. And likewise, I don't think you can ever back on a clean sheet. Even when they play at home to weaker teams, you still think they can be got at.
Yeah. I don't think we need to say much more. Grading wise, I mean, the only player that I had considered really was Gilmour. I thought he was going to be the kind of standout 4.5 option.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely hopeless. 1 assist, no goals, in and out the team.
Yeah.
Not so much under Smith, but he was before that.
He was before when I went Gilmour as soon because I needed a 4.5 the week after he had signed, and he'd just got his assist, and I'd seen he was on set pieces. And Dean Smith said, "I'm going to build a team around him." And he has. Dean Smith has paid him 90 every week, other than once against Spurs, 80. But no, he's deep and he doesn't have much to aim at.
This is my U rating.
Is this your U? I'm gonna. Who did I give a U to? I did give a U, didn't I? Yesterday, and you didn't.
Burnley.
Yeah, and you didn't. So I said no. I'm gonna go for an F, just because Pukki has got 5 goals and is cheap.
Again, it's just like lack of striker. I mean, he got 9-8, 2-8 in a 4-week spell.
Yeah, there was. And Brandon Williams gave us a 4.0 option that was playing, and there weren't many of them at the time. He's since dropped in price and not guaranteed to start, and he doesn't keep clean sheets anyway. But it was nice to have a 4.0 that was starting because there was only a couple of them at one point.
I'm sticking with the U.
By the way, I never went Brandon Williams. I think he's a terrible buy, just for the record.
I can't see any of their options being in the second part of the season. They need signings. We've seen before that in this position they haven't done it before. I wonder if they're going to have a different tactic, the owners, and try and invest and keep them up. My sense is they probably won't, and they'll go down again. And, and then that'll be that.
As Kenny McLean is their top scoring midfielder on 37 points. He's not had a single goal or assist, but he's still their top scoring midfielder.
And that's why I've given them a U. That is appalling, isn't it?
I was like, McLean's top of the tree there. See how many goals and assists he's got? 0. But he's just played all the minutes, so he's got...
I'm just looking through their midfield. They've had 1 goal from their midfield, and that was Norman.
Oh yeah, I remember that hit. That was
No
from
one else.
range.
No one else has scored.
Yeah, shame.
Wow, that is really bad. Okay, next Southampton. Now I've been doing all the screens and all the slides and stuff for this. I haven't struggled with the team as much as Southampton because, and this is absolutely no disrespect to Southampton fans, and everyone will say, "Oh, you don't like Southampton," like they do whenever, but I couldn't find anything interesting about them. They're just very middle of the road,
Mediocre. Yeah.
mediocre, aren't they? Like everything's kind of just going okay, you know.
Yeah.
Like they're not really in a relegation battle. They're not, pulling trees up. It was a good performance against Spurs in the last match. The one thing I did pull out was I think we probably want to talk about the strikers. I mean, obviously you're a big Broja fan. He's competing with like Armstrong and Adams as well, and Shane Long came in for a bit. I mean, Adam Armstrong statistically is doing the best out of the three. Expected goal involvement of 5.2 compared to the others around the kind of 2.6 mark. He's played more minutes, 1,233 compared to Broja's 700 and Adams 900. Broja's at 5.3, started at 5. You're a big fan.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's the best one. I mean, he's the best player of the three by a significant margin, right? But do you think he can be an option for us in the second half?
I really do. And I always said, for me, I was waiting for Broja to be a nailed asset until I jumped on him. And only now we starting to see his first choice, because at the start of the season, he was coming on 20 minutes as a sort of cameo. And I don't think he had his first start to game week 8. And then after that, he had an injury and then missed a few games, and it took him a while to get back in the 11. But he doesn't play 90, and I don't think he will ever play 90 this season because they've got options on the bench. And we know Ralph Hasenhuttl likes to take his forwards off because he's got 4 of them, 3 good ones and Shane Long. So my audio's come out. Sorry.
I can hear you.
But my take on that is Broja will be an option for the second half of the season. And when the fixtures are good, and they're not at the moment, I will probably be jumping on him because I think at 5.3, he is the best budget forward in the game by some distance.
4 goals, 2 assists for Broja. Only completed 90 minutes once in the league. Just looking through his minutes, lots of 19, 20, 30 minutes. That's the kind of issue with him.
But that was all at the start of the season. Mostly. So I do think we've come to a point now where Ralph Hasenhuttl knows his first choice. Maybe he doesn't know his first choice 11, and he very rarely has a fully fit squad, Ralph Hasenhuttl. But I do think if he's putting a first 11 out and everyone's fresh, Broja is in it. And I think he only missed a couple of games over the festive period when there was sort of suffering from rotation. He would have started back-to-back games should there have been enough time between fixtures, and there wasn't. So I think Broja will be in that 11, but I don't expect 90 out of him because we know he likes to use subs there.
Started 5 of the last 7.
5, so it's not bad. Not bad at all. Bad.
Just subbed early, sort of too many times. What do you think about Southampton in general as a team? I mean, they're 14th in the league, 21 points, just above Everton on 19, kind of level with Villa. I mean, there was big change for them at the start of the season. They lost Ings, they lost Vestergaard. Yeah. Again, not really a huge amount of investment. Livramento came in, but he's surprised everyone, I think, by starting as much as he has done, being such a young player. Mm-hmm. Broja came in, and Armstrong was kind of the big money signing. I reckon they're probably performing about how we expected, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've done very well to keep Ward-Prowse. Like Aston Villa came in for him, and I think a few others did. So fair play. They've kept he's probably their best player, right? He's their sort of their focal point, if you like, their captain, their leader. They've sold 2 of I'd say Danny Ings and Vestergaard were probably 2 of their top earners, so they've reduced their wage bill a lot. And when you look at their players, I bet there's got some very modest wages in there for the Premier League. So I do think they probably are overachieving a tad, and I do think Ralph Hasenhuttl is a very, very good manager because he has his ideas, a bit like a Bielsa team, different style, but a similar manager that has his style and it's his way or the highway. Ralph Hasenhuttl has got a tendency to play his way even when they go 1-0 down against a big team. And because of that, we have seen Southampton concede lots of goals in one game. So I can remember games when Leicester scored 9 against them. Spurs, I think I remember them scoring 6, maybe a United. But because of that, you think, okay, there's a bit of a soft centre there. But when they play teams of an even standard to them, you think, they can out-football them, and they often do.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. We talked about Newcastle and ownership. Southampton have now got new owners as well, which I think took a lot of people by surprise. £100 million seems like peanuts, really, doesn't it, for a Premier League side?
It does when you think that Leicester sold Maguire for 80 million.
Yeah, well, exactly. I know when you put it in that context, it's bad. I mean, they're called Sport Republic. I don't know if you know too much about them. They basically, their idea is to create a kind of a Red Bull Leipzig type network of clubs across different countries, and they're very much an investment firm. So the model of Southampton's perfect for them: buy young, sell at profit. Right. Buy more young, sell at a profit. And also Hasenhüttl was perfect because he's had the experience at Red Bull in the past. So it's only good news, I think, for Southampton, because I think the model is going to stay broadly the same, but the model's been working quite well. I think there's going to be less owners to sell players. I think because the previous owner had a lot of restrictions around, he was from China, I believe, had lots of restrictions around buying and selling and things. There was a lot of like red tape because different restrictions came in for his ownership of the club. So they got rid of all that. It should be easier. It should be plain as sailing for them going forward. So I think Southampton can look forward to some good times ahead.
Yeah, and they've always had a very good academy, and that this means the academy players will have a chance. And they're also up for signing very young players with resale. Like Livramento, what a great signing. Like they went out and got a very good kid. Even the likes of Walker Peters, like they went and signed young British players to go, yeah, okay, we can take them on. And even if they go to a bigger, better club, we've still made money on them.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, grading for Southampton.
Because Livramento was
of course.
Livramento was the best option early in the season at 4.0. So because of Livramento, and he did do so well, always on my bench for all those 6-pointers. Oh, it's so painful because I had him so early as well. I do think Ward-Prowse has gone under the radar a little bit. He's hit some good, always does, because he's a number 8. And for some reason, when we spend mid-6 millions, we want the wide forwards, the out of position Sakas or Martinellis. But your centre mids sometimes can be value, and Ward-Prowse is. So, and because I think Broja will be a really good option, I'm going to go B-.
Wow, that is generous.
I mean, Livramento was so good.
That is very generous. Livramento was on an incredible run of points. I mean, for a 4 million defender, you've got 6'5", 2, 4, 6, 9, 6, 6. So only one blank in about 7 games. Since then, though, 1-0-1, 2-1-0, 1-0.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a bit less generous with you. Yeah, I'm just gonna give him a C. I think without Livramento, they would be right down the list. I think the forwards have kind of cancelled each other out because we haven't known who to pick, which ones to get. I think Ward-Prowse. I would never get Ward-Prowse. I think he blanks too often for me. He's had one double-digit haul this season, but if you look at his list, I've been so many 2s and 3s.
Same points as Gundogan this season.
Same points as Gundogan, is that true?
Only 2 behind Bruno.
That is,
more than Soucek, more than De Bruyne. But I'm with you. Like I would never sign him, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
Pens.
Maybe it's runs like this. Though. I mean, again, he got 2 against Watford, and then 3-2, 2-2, 2-2. Like, you can't own a player for that many.
You get fed up, don't you? Maybe because you're relying on the set pieces. I know he's just scored an open play goal, but because of pens and free kicks, and even the set piece assist threat, I'm thinking that it's probably harder to predict when you're going to get those points because it's you get a penalty or free kick against anyone.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of. I love him as a player. I think he's brilliant, and I wonder where Southampton would be without him. Yeah. But FPL wise, I'm not convinced. So I'll go C for them. Right, next up, another big team, Spurs. I've got some stats of Spurs under Conte. What I really wanted to focus on was their defence. So I've got a very small table. I think it's I don't think it is that small. I think it's just my table. But Spurs, before Conte arrived, were the 4th worst team in the league for shots conceded in the box. They were below Leicester, Norwich and Burnley, ahead of Newcastle somehow, ahead of Leeds, but right down the bottom. Which is surprising when you think that they had quite a few 1-0 wins under Nuno at the start of the season. But all the evidence said that they were really poor defensively. Conte's come in. They are now 2nd best in the league for shots conceded in the box, just below Liverpool, ahead of Man City. So, we can talk about the attacking stuff as well. And obviously Son and Kane are rejuvenated. Really poor performance from yesterday in the Cup, and Conte speaking about the need for new signings. But you can't argue the impact that he's had already, especially defensively.
Yeah, and I always think it's much easier for a coach to come in and make changes at the back to those numbers, right? So to shore up a team defensively on the training ground is so much easier to coach that in short term than it is to produce goals. So Conte's gone, right, let's sort the defence out first. And because I've got some world-class talent up front anyway, I'll just rely on Son and Kane. And Lucas, to be fair, has done incredibly well to get me those goals. But first things first, let's make us tight at the back. And he's done that partly by going for the back five. But, at times it is a back three because Reguilon and Emerson are very advanced. And under Nuno, we did see a little bit of that. But again, he was chopping and changing every week. We know that Conte back five, after 2 games of Conte, we could tell you his first choice back five. And we can name it. And it's very easy that he's not rotating those centre-backs, which is what Nuno was doing. Rondon was in every now and then. And obviously we've had a few injuries, like Romero would have been in there. But instead, Sanchez has come in, Romero injured, and Sanchez has done very well. Dyer looks much better than ever before. And Ben Davies has actually shown, like he did for Wales a long time ago, he is a very good left centre-back. Probably not a very good wing-back or an average left-back. But left centre-back seems to be his best position. So fair play. Conte's done very well. And I think because of that, we're all beelining now to a Spurs defender, especially now knowing they now have a double game week in 22. If you're not already on Reguilon, I think many managers that aren't are looking to go there. I bought Reguilon I think a week or 2 after Conte signed because I knew we'd get clean sheets. And frustratingly, I didn't get the points because Reguilon kept getting injured. And then he got a clean sheet against Norwich and went off at half-time injured or whatever it was. So I've had like 1 clean sheet, maybe 2 clean sheets from him. But yeah, definitely invest in that Spurs defence this season. I think the prices are very good as well. Like you can get Dyer, and Sanchez might lose his spot, will lose his spot when Romero comes back. But Dyer's 4.6, Ben Davies 4.5. Usually when you buy a defender at that price, you're buying a team that's 17th or even 12th in the Premier League, definitely second half. We're getting a top 6 team potentially here and then getting one of the best defences in the league for 4.5.
Yep. Short-term fixtures aren't great. Arsenal Leicester, I think, is an interesting looking double. I think it's better from an attacking point of view than a defensive one.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Then it's straight into Chelsea away. Then you've got Southampton and Wolves, which I think looks quite good defensively. But then it's Man City, Leeds, Everton, United, West Ham. It's a bit of a mixed bag, to say the least. I mean, what are your thoughts on Kane for the second half of the season? Because, I mean, he's probably the one that people are going to be looking to have a big explosive part. I mean, you talk about dips in form and, talk about Bruno and Shaw and these guys. Would you have thought after this many games, 21 games of the season, Kane would be on 4 goals, 1 assist? And 3 of those have come in the last 4 games.
Unbelievable. I'm shocked by it. And I'm still not ready to go there. Sure, if I'm on a free hit this game week 22, you go Harry Kane, a nice differential for 1 week. But Kane, for me, is someone that I want against a really weaker opposition opponents. And we've seen it for England when he plays Andorra, he scores 7. Okay, maybe not. But when the fixtures turn green for Spurs, and to be fair, as you say, they've not got great fixtures, but around game week 31, they just have an absolute sea of green. And some of the fixtures that owed are green. So keep an eye on them for the small double game weeks they might get. But I think then it'll be a time to get on Harry. And by then he'd have had a couple more months training and Spurs will be clicking going forward. Because at the moment, yes, they are scoring a small amount of goals. But, we saw them score 1 in the 96th minute against Watford. They're not a free-flowing team under Conte that's going to score goals yet. I think they will be. But as I said, concentration has gone onto that back line, not the attacking line. So for me, I can't see myself signing Kane to the second half of the season. And even Son, who I've been very happy with, will probably have to go when we all beeline for Salah in a couple of weeks' time. And I'll be happy doing that, looking at those fixtures.
Yep, I completely agree. I think Son is easy make weight for Salah, or Ronaldo, I guess, if you've got him and don't want to keep faith. Just a quick note on the double game weeks. Obviously, I mentioned about Tottenham playing Arsenal and Leicester. There is 2 best teams to play against. In 14 appearances against Arsenal, he's got 11 goals. And in 12 appearances against Leicester, he's got 15 goals.
Christ. Okay.
Remember, he got 4 a few years ago against them. Don't know if you remember that.
Both his old clubs, because I know he never played for Arsenal, but they were his boyhood club as a fan, and then he obviously went on loan to Leicester. So yeah, maybe there's something in that. Maybe when he plays Leyton Orient, he always scores goals as well.
I wonder how many goals he has scored against Leyton Orient. Okay, Spurs from an FPL perspective, quite a hard one to rate this, I think.
I mean, loads did have Kane at different points, myself included. As soon as Conte signed, I had Kane. Terrible. Like, Kane has just let every owner down he's had, no doubt, this season. Son's been fairly reliable. And then at the back, they've had very few options until recently. So Lloris has probably been the pick at the back.
Says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'm going to go C.
I don't think I can pass them. I don't think I can pass, given how poor Kane's been this season and how much reliance we had, and the defence. I'm still not entirely convinced on Reguilon. He seems to get subbed off a bit too early. There's talk that he's not quite fit enough for the system. Emerson, so many crosses in the last game is unbelievable. I'm gonna give him a D+. I'm gonna give him a D+, and that's just for Son and some improvements in defence, but it hasn't been enough.
I can't argue with that, to be fair. I know I've gone C, and I think I've been blinded by 8 goals, 5 assists for Son.
Yeah, I think
without
Son
that
is the only kind of saving grace, and he hasn't really been an option, I don't think, until the last few weeks. Okay, we've got 3 more teams to get through. Next up is Watford. Ooh. Oh dear, again. Not being good, has it?
Their top Watford scoring defender is Cathcart on 19 points.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They are the only team without a clean sheet in the league. They are very much reliant on King and Dennis. I mean, that's the stat I've got up on the screen. It's just about the clean sheets, really. The defensive numbers are obviously terrible across the board, but it's that real clean sheet. They're the only 2 without a clean sheet. Norwich have 1. Everton have 1 clean sheet all season. Can you believe that? Newcastle with 1, Brentford with 1. I mean,
poor, isn't it?
These are poor teams. I mean, even Leeds have 2 and Leicester have 2 somehow. I wouldn't expect to see Brentford and Everton on this list.
I wouldn't expect to see Brentford. I'm really surprised by that.
They had such good defensive numbers at the start of the season, but it's drifted off. Anyway, Watford. Yeah, well, I mean, Watford. It's just all about King and Dennis, isn't it?
Yes. There's
Grass versus Analytics FC, as the Twitter crowd like to say.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I went King, and I thought it was the right call. And then since I've been watching Dennis and his unbelievable finishing. Sometimes King's been playing wide and Dennis is the number 9, including the last couple of games, which has been really annoying. I've actually just sold King because I'd had enough, and now they've got the double game week and I want him back. But I'm not going to get him back. I'm going to go Dennis. Like, if you're going to go one or the other, it has to be Dennis. Interesting that King was subbed, I think, at half-time last time out.
That was Dennis.
Dennis. Yeah. Must have been a knock. I can't see that was tactical, as good as he's been. Obviously, not going to the AFCON is amazing for his FPL owners. And he's just been brilliant. Like, 92 points, like, for a 6.1. I said earlier, Brozier's the best budget forward in the game by a country mile. And I mean it, because I actually now see Dennis as sort of mid-price. Now he's over that 6 million threshold. But, of course, if I'd take Dennis over Brozier all day. And his price rises have been phenomenal. He was 5.2 in, I think, game week 13, 14. And then by game week 20, he's like 6 million. Like, just huge rise. So, yeah, he's been very good. And he's looking good for the double 22. He's the only one I'd probably want. I mean, yeah, sure, you take Josh King. But seeing Josh King wide and Dennis as the 9, there's no contest now.
No, I mean King getting 5 goals and 4 assists is, does look impressive. I mean, 3 of those goals came in one game against Everton. He's only had 1 assist in the last kind of like 6 weeks, which you kind of want a bit more from him. I think Dennis is quite clearly going to go on to big things. I think the talent he's got, the finishing he's got, like you mentioned, his movement, his intelligence. He's a very, very, very good player, and he won't be at Watford for very long. Especially, I doubt all this AFCON stuff has helped the matter,
True.
with all that. So I'll be interested to know where he goes. But yeah, it's been very much between those 2. I think most people have got one of those in their side. There's a good double game for Watford coming up as well.
Yeah.
Newcastle and Burnley. So again, be the analytics grass battle. See who comes out on top.
It's a tough one, that. Knowing I don't own either of them, but want to get one in, I am looking at a double game week going, yeah, the fixtures are really good. And of course they are, but they are away from home. And you just wouldn't put it past like a trip to St. James's Park when they think they can win a game, knowing their form's been good. You wouldn't be surprised to see Newcastle win that 10-0. I know they haven't been keeping clean sheets. And then going to Turf Moor, again, you wouldn't be surprised to see Burnley win that 10-0 either, because Turf Moor can be a hard place to go and score goals. So whilst I really want Dennis and we'll probably bring him in, I think that will be a case of more fear than expectation, which is a terrible thing to do. But 39% own Dennis, and they are great. And then he does have Norwich the week after, which will help the appeal. But yeah, I think it will be Dennis.
I think the fixtures are good enough to go with one of them, whether you're free hitting or whatever. And if you are bringing one in as a transfer, then you have got that Norwich game afterwards. I think one thing to note is that I think a lot of people think that Watford score a lot of goals and have a lot of they're massively attacking, and they can be. I mean, the 5 goals against Everton, they've got 2 against Leicester. If you look at the numbers though, they are right down the bottom in terms of chances, per minute and shots and all these things. They're not. It's not like they're like a top 4 team for the amount of chances they create. They are still right down the bottom. So this is what I mean. It's not surprising if they go and lose to 0 and they don't have many chances, and because they're not that good.
Yeah,
they're a bit like Norwich. They're not that good defensively, and they're not that good attacking wise. They're just better attacking than they are defending.
I need to delve into the members area on some of their attacking numbers, because again, as I said, because of the fixtures, tough places to visit, I'm not 100% sold I want to be taking hits for them. And I think I'd be signing Dennis out of fear for 22, and therefore I'm still not sure what I'm doing. Because as you say, let's not be blinded by the fact they beat Everton and put 5 past them. Other than that, they're not scoring loads of goals every week.
No. Well, the United game as well was a big scoring one. They have got it in them to score goals. They've got four at home to Man United.
Yeah.
But it's just not. It's not consistent enough. They don't strike me as a team that can score buckets of goals every match. Particularly lately, they've struggled against teams which you'd expect them to maybe score some goals against, and they haven't been able to. Yeah. Okay, rating wise, I mean, it's just Dennis and King. You're basically not rating Watford. You're basically rating Dennis and King. I'll go first this time. I will give them. I'm going to pass them because it's nice to have some cheap forwards.
Yeah.
And I think without them, I think a lot of people might have struggled. And Dennis has been a bit of a revelation. I'm going to pass them. I'm going to give him a C. Bang in the middle.
Yeah, I'd give him a pass. Little shout out to Sarr earlier in the season. Yep. He had. I think he got 4 goals in the first 6 game weeks.
Yeah.
A lot, and to be fair, a lot had him.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. A good team now. Apologies, Watford fans. West Ham, strength to strength this season under Moyes. Just really building on all the good things they started last season, which I wasn't expecting to do last season. But this season, you knew kind of what they were about. They had Europa League to contend with, and you wondered how that was going to affect them. Quite a thin squad. But they've just been absolutely fantastic. I mean, we'll talk about Antonio in a bit more detail, but I mean, this is the expected goal involvement. The top players, in the league. In the top 10, West Ham have 2 players, Antonio and Bowen. Antonio is only bettered with his expected goal involvement by Jota, Mane, and Salah, which is just crazy, especially given that Antonio has been rubbish for ages now, like 7 or 8 weeks or something. He's still right up there, ahead of Ronaldo, for example.
Yeah.
He's been brilliant. And Bowen creeping onto the list as well, I think is showing what a good option he is. Just 6.7. Yeah, so thoughts on West Ham?
Yeah, they've been phenomenal, and we've been spoilt for choice. At the start of the season, it was Benrahma and Antonio. More lately, it's been Bowen. Still the likes of Soucek have ticked along. What I would say is I have been disappointed by their defensive numbers. I haven't looked at this, but I think they've conceded 1 goal quite often. So they've not been keeping clean sheets. And under Moyes, we've actually always been able to look at Cresswell or Soufal last season and go, yeah, there's clean sheets and attack and returns there. This year, we've not had that. But again, injuries. I think if Zuma and Agbona are fit and Cresswell, and we know their first choice back 4, when they're all playing, I think we'll get clean sheets again. So for the second half of the season, when these guys are back fit, no doubt will flock towards their defenders too because they're well priced.
I mean, at one point they had their first choice back four out.
All injured
for a couple of weeks. I mean, what are the odds of that? Two centre-backs, a right-back and a left-back. Ben Johnson had to fill over in left-back, and he was keeping Soufal out the team. And then Johnson got injured, and they had to bring Masuaku in. I know lots of teams have had lots of defensive injuries, even Leicester, but I think even Leicester have managed to get out a Soyuncu or an Evans or someone like first choice to have a completely second string.
It's unfortunate. They've got good depth though. I mean, I think because they're in the Europa League, they had a good squad this season going into it. So to be able to call on Diop and Dawson, they're not. Diop was, I think, formerly France under-21 captain. Like, he's got pedigree. I know he's not been brilliant of late. And Dawson's a very good Premier League centre-back, lower end. But, as your third and fourth option...
Harsh addition to that.
I was thinking of his time at West Brom. But, he'll do a job for you. So to be able to call on these guys, it's been pretty good. Like, fair play to have that sort of level of depth. They've not been bringing in a kid as their fourth choice centre-back. They've had, Diop, who's got good pedigree. So, spoiled for choice. They've been very good. Bowen's been amazing of late. Definitely Bowen over Antonio at the moment. But, I've got both and I'm keeping, although I'm gutted there's no double game week because I might now have to sell Antonio to get someone like a Dennis in. But yeah, they've been brilliant. And I think the second half of the season looks really bright for them, really bright. And I can't see myself selling Bowen for a while. 6.7 million. It's been so good.
Someone I have been disappointed with has been Ben Rama. Mark was, and not just Mark, quite a few people were talking about him up at the start of the season, saying he had a good pre-season, brought him in. I was never convinced.
I haven't owned him yet this season.
Yeah, I wasn't convinced on him. And, he started the season with 2 back-to-back double-digit goals. And then I got him in, obviously, because that's what you do. And then since then, I didn't actually realise how bad it was until I looked it up. From game weeks 3 right down to game week 14, he started every game and got 1 goal, 1 assist.
That's not great at all, is it? Knowing that team has been scoring goals.
So you're looking at 11 games to match basically what he got in game week 1. It's been. I mean, he's been doing a bit better lately. He got a goal against Southampton, a goal against Watford, and an assist against Palace. So he has got returns in his last 3 games. But when you've got a player who starts a season so strongly like that, you want to see him kick on and kind of cement himself in people's lineups, and he didn't. So.
Yeah, and again, that's been reflected in his minutes. He came out of the team a little bit, and he's not playing 90 now. He did hit the bar from like a worldy effort a week or 2 ago. I thought, okay, is Ben Rama back? But yeah, fits and starts, I guess. You want the consistency, which we are getting from a Bowen.
Absolutely, I think Bowen is and I think we might start seeing Antonio be rested a bit more.
Yeah.
Given that they're progressing in the Europa League, and I think that pushes Bowen further up the pitch. I think it's going to be very hard for me to sell Bowen now I've got him.
I think I'm the same there. I can see myself dipping in and out of Antonio when I need to go there, but Bowen seems like a bit of a lock.
Yep. Grading?
I'm going to go for a B+ because Antonio was so good at the start of the season and Bowen's been so good of late.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a B, I think. A little bit lower, just because we haven't really had the options in defence. Injuries wasn't really their fault, but Ben Rama's drop-off in form. The fact Souček hasn't delivered like we did last season. Souček was 5 million last season, and he was people were playing him as a 4th choice mid.
Yeah.
He's not even a 5th choice mid now.
He is playing deeper there, isn't he? Now it's like a 4-2-3-1. Him and Rice just sit, and then the front 4 do their thing.
Yeah. And then Antonio's drop-off has been disappointing. So, yeah, it's hard to push him up into the top brackets. But I do think Bowen has been a superb player, both for them and FPL-wise, going forward. Okay, final team. And this is Wolves. Probably, I'd say Palace and Wolves have probably been my biggest surprise packages of the season, in a good way. I did a bit of research on Large before the season started, and everything was built ridiculously attacking manager. Games are going to be so open, free flowing. It's going to score loads of goals. Won't be able to.
Opposite.
Yeah, it's been the complete opposite. Yeah. They've been so good defensively. Yeah. So good.
And they have struggled to score, to be fair to them.
And so poor offensively. Yeah. Just so poor. Yeah, obviously scoring barely any goals, but keeping clean sheets. Winning. They're a 1-0 team now, aren't they?
Yeah, and because of that. I think I tweeted the other day, we need to start taking Wolves defenders seriously. Yeah. Like, they're well priced. We know who plays. They play 90 each week. When Saiss is back from the AFCON, I know you spend more on Saiss, but I just love the fact that he's on some of the direct free kicks. He always offers goal threat. Wolves are keeping cleanos, and they have to be part of our plans for the second part of the season, without doubt. Maybe if we know who's nailed at wing back, if Marçal is nailed at 4.2, really good option. But 8-0, he's played well when he's played.
Some rumours that there might be a bit of a hokey-cokey with Semedo going to Atletico and Matt Doherty going back to Wolves.
Heard that.
Imagine that. That would be a blast from the past, wouldn't it? Speaking about blast from the past, my stats on the Wolves are about a certain Raul Jimenez. Obviously, one of the worst injuries imaginable last season.
Scary.
Fractured skull, terrifying. We all wanted him to come back really strong.
Yeah.
He's come back strong, absolutely. He's been playing most minutes in the system. Wolves have been getting points, playing well, all of that. FPL wise, though, there has been a big notable drop off in him compared to how he was in 2019 when he got sort of 17 goals or whatever it was he got. His penalty area touches are down on average. His goal attempts are down, almost halved. He's doubled his minutes per attempt. His shot accuracy's down. Everything's down.
Yeah.
Essentially. He's just not really an option, is he?
No, he's not. And he is expensive. Like, when you're in a team that looks so shy in front of goal, you expect their number 9 to be 6 million, not 7.4.
Yeah.
And I think he started the season. Did he start the season at 8 million? I'm just looking now. No, he did start at 7.5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when I look back at times of Jimenez doing really well, I've always thought of him in really nice partnerships, like when he linked up so well with Traore. And it was like, okay, yeah, I can see how he's being fed. And Neto was really good for him at one point. Now, Traore obviously is in and out of the team. Neto, who's one of their most talented players at Wolves, he's going to be a superstar. He's brilliant. I love Neto. But he's been injured all season. So you look at it and go, okay, at times he's had Hwang behind him. Times he's had Podence, Trincao, it's usually 2 of those 3, or Traore. There's been so much rotation. I still don't think Wolves know their best 11. And I think Jimenez has suffered a little bit of that. Like, he needs a partner in crime. And I think that might eventually be Hwang, and Hwang looks very good. But yeah, when he was really clicking, it was when you had the likes of Neto and Traore feeding him. And Jota, of course. Like, Diogo Jota was feeding Jimenez so much.
And creating space for him, right? Because that's what Jimenez thrives off. Is he was spending most of his time in the penalty area, and just getting space and scoring. Whereas now he's dropping deeper as well. I think to create more for the other players. And actually, his assist potential is up.
Is it?
He is creating a chance every 59 minutes this season compared to 68 minutes in his best season when he was in the Premier League.
That's interesting.
So it's almost like we've kind of made reference to him a bit like Tony. Is that these players are trying to unlock other players. The trouble is, it doesn't look like there's anyone else in the team that can score a goal. So he's unlocking players that can't score. It's similar to Brentford as well. It's like Tony and Jimenez could be doing the best job imaginable, but if they haven't got the players around them that can actually put the ball in the net, kind of defies the point.
Yeah. I again, like we said with Conte, easy to come into a new squad and make them tight at the back than expressive in attack. And I do think with Wolves, knowing his history as an attacking manager, we'll probably see a better second half to the season where they attack a little bit more. But they've built very strong foundations. So fair play. They've done a great thing at the back, and they are keeping clean sheets. Now we just need to see a little bit more expression going forward.
I'll tell you what, with early signs, I mean, the United game, they were fantastic.
Oh my God, was it 15 shots in the first half?
They were they weren't playing like a team that are like second bottom on the attacking data for the season. They were expressive. They were creating chances. They were running United ragged. Passing was great. Loads of shots. So we want to see more of that.
Yeah, and I think we'll get it when Neto is back. Like, Neto is an unbelievable young player. I'm pretty sure he's got Portugal caps already, and he's a kid. So yeah, and he's been playing at Wolves. Like, fair play. I think he's due back in Feb. He's had a really bad injury on his knee. That might be March, I don't know. But when he's back, I think we'll see more attacking intent from Wolves. He's very good.
Yep. Full of praise for Wolves, but I sense our FPL ratings aren't going to be that high. I'm going to have to come in. I'm going to give them a pass because I think Sarr and the defence just about takes them over the line, but it's a C-, a low pass.
I'm going to go for a fail because I've been disappointed there's been no popular assets performing, and Jimenez has been the popular one. Traore at one time, I jumped on Traore. The defenders, they've been doing well, but no one's owned them. Cody at 8.1% ownership, and then Seiss at 2.4, the two most popular.
Yeah.
Jose Sarr's done very well too, but I'm going to go D because of the ownership to the players that have been doing okay. A bit has been so low. D plus.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you. Not much in it. C minus and D plus. Yeah. Right, that is it. We've done all 20 teams, Gianni. Check us
Love
out.
that.
Thanks for everyone who's listened and watched throughout these videos. We will be back doing the team reveals next week.
Yes,
Gianni's
we will.
Team reveal.
And we will have the double game week to prep for, and by then I'll have an idea of what I'm actually doing, so I still don't know.
Absolutely. So that will be at the normal time on Wednesday, I believe, unless something changes. But Gianni, thanks for joining me, and I will see you soon.
Thank you, mate. Speak soon.